Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to another sports stuff video. Today, we're doing our first mock draft Monday of the off season. I want to get this video out to you guys with the NFL Combine starting this week. We have all positions this week are going to be on the field, doing interviews, doing trainings, 40-yard dashes. I'm so excited. So if you guys enjoy, please like, comment, subscribe. Let's get into the NFL mock draft of the 2026 draft. Obviously, number one overall, the Las Vegas Raiders. And we all know what they're going to go. They're going to go Fernando Mendoza. By the way, this mock draft will include trades if a trade makes sense. However, because this draft is a little bit weaker and not, the strength of this drafts are not really top end. It's more throughout the draft. You have quality players. I just don't see a lot of trades happening in the first round. But we're going to go ahead and do it with it. If a trade does come up, we're going to do a trade. But Fernando Mendoza going number one overall to the Las Vegas Raiders. They hired Clint Kubiak for a reason. They've completely changed the culture of this team for a reason. This is Fernando Mendoza's team, and Clint Kubiak is the guy leading the way for that offense. The New York Jets, they have two picks in number 2 and number 16. So I think what ideally the Jets should do is at number 2, take your guy, and maybe at 16, if you could trade out into next year. Again, with how weak this draft class is overall, I just don't see future first-round picks being traded, because next year, you have a lot of really good players coming out, right? You have Colin Simmons, you have Jeremiah Smith. Again, this is if they all come out when they're supposed to. Multiple offensive linemen, multiple quarterbacks, multiple wide receivers, corners, safeties. It is a stacked draft class if everyone comes out. The question is, will they come out? So you can't really bet on the future. You kind of got to go on this year's class, thinking about the future as well. But look at guys like Caleb Downs, right? Caleb Downs, 21 years old, true junior. He's coming out 3 years in. I think those type of players are going to happen every single draft class. But then there's going to be the Darren Mensahs, the Dante Moores who want to stay one more year because the NIL money and the expectations don't really matter. So the New York Jets at number 2, they know that they have the future as probably the future of the quarterback position. It's either going to be in a trade for like a Kyler Murray and Anthony Richardson and free agency for Malik Willis. But at number 2, I think it's going to be the most easy pick of the draft after Fernando Mendoza. I'm going to grab Arvell Reese going number 2 overall to the New York Jets. I think Aaron Glenn needs to get his dominant linebacker. Because whether it's Alex Anzalone, Jack Campbell, he needs to get that guy who can absolutely run a defense and be the signal caller. That's Arvell Reese. 6'4", 243. He can be edge rusher as well, kind of in that mold of Micah Parsons. But whether it's a stand-up linebacker or a hybrid, Arvell Reese is the second best player in this class. As much as I love David Bailey, Caleb Downs, Cardinal Tate, Ruben Bain, Mansour Delane, I think Arvell Reese, when it comes to pound-for-pound projection, I think he has a very high ceiling. And I think Aaron Glenn, 1, needs to save his job, but 2, get as much talent on this defense as possible. Arvell Reese is the pick at number 2. And at number 3, the Arizona Cardinals. Obviously, new head coach in Mike LaFleur. I could see them going offensive side of the ball. Maybe you go grab Jeremiah Love, but I just don't see Jeremiah Love as a number 3 overall pick. I see them just taking the best player available, and that's going to be David Bailey. I would go Caleb Downs for the Cardinals, but they already have Budda Baker. He's still really good, still an all-pro, Pro Bowl level player when everything's going right. So I'm just going to grab the best edge rusher in the class in David Bailey. 6'3", 250, dominant 4'3" 4'3" defensive end. 15 sacks last year, 43 hurries, and he's only 22 years old. So you have him still very young, right? 4 years, coming out 4 years out. Very young. He's had a great season in Texas Tech. And just like last year, South Carolina, Texas Tech is this year's defensive line class. You got David Bailey. You got, where is he? Lee Hunter. You got, why am I blinking on his name? Romello Height, I believe. Yeah, Romello Height. This is the defensive line class from this team that is going to be powerful. So I'm going to go with David Bailey at number 3 to the Arizona Cardinals. Get someone on the edge who can be a premier guy for the future of your team. Because right now you don't really have that premier edge rusher. You have Josh Sweat, who's good, but is not that premier guy. Go grab David Bailey. He has a chance to be that premier edge rusher for this team. They can average 14 to 16 sacks a year if everything's going right. I'm going to go David Bailey for that upside. Then at number 4, the Tennessee Titans. This is where I think Caleb Downs goes. I think Robert Saleh wants to get that defensive player that he can kind of use as a chess piece, and that's Caleb Downs, the most physical, hard-hitting safety in this class. He's 6 foot, 205, true junior. Is absolutely, in my opinion, the number 1 overall talent in this class. But because of positional value, he's going to slip down. But I just don't see Robert Saleh letting Caleb Downs go. this defense for the Titans, for the most part, is going to get turnover in the next 2 years. Outside of Jeffrey Simmons, Cedric Gray, and maybe Jarvis Brown. Not Jarvis Brownlee, what's his name? Maybe it is Jarvis Brownlee. There's 3 players I don't see getting cut or traded or moved on from in the next 2 years. Let's add Caleb Downs to that room. Now you have a defensive lineman, a linebacker, and a secondary guy that you know are going to be here during this rebuild of Robert Saleh with Cam Ward. So for me, I think it's really great. Caleb Downs, dominant player, the best player in the draft when it comes to pure talent at their position. But because it's not a premier position, he slips to 4, and Robert Saleh gets his guy to run his defense. Then at number 5, the New York Giants. This one's going to be a little bit of a shocker. I'm going to go with Sonny Styles, linebacker from Ohio State. More of a traditional, prototypical stand-up linebacker, 6'5", 243. He is 21 years old as a senior, still young, but has a lot of playing time under his belt. What can you say about John Harbaugh? John Harbaugh will always have great linebacker play. What do the Giants have right now? Mediocre linebacker play. You know, Micah McFadden did get injured, so you can't really blame him that much, but Bobby Okereke has really fallen off since he was his first year in New York. Let's go grab Sonny Styles. Let him be the green dot thumper of this linebacker core. Again, 6'5", 243. I think he can play a lot like Roquan Smith, and Roquan Smith played great with the Baltimore Ravens. So he's a pair up with the New York Giants, and he's going to be John Harbaugh's first pick as the head coach of the New York Giants. Then at number 6, the Cleveland Browns. There's been a lot of rumors that the Browns would be willing to trade down and get in the next year's draft. Again, I just don't see anyone in this class trading up. There's been talks of maybe the Rams, where the Rams at 13 and the Cowboys at 20. But I just don't see it happening. So at number 6, I think the Cleveland Browns will just sit and take whatever player they have on their board. And I think it's going to be Francis Mauigoa. Francis Mauigoa, he'll be the right tackle of the future for the Cleveland Browns. He's 6'6", 315, going to be 21 years old by the time next season starts, and has a lot of great playing time under his belt. The reason I think Francis Mauigoa is going to be, is he the first tackle? Yeah, the reason I think Francis Mauigoa is going to be the first tackle off this board, if you watch this playoff run between Miami and their entire run, whether it was Ohio State, Ole Miss, A&M, this entire run right here, Francis Mauigoa was dominant. Now, Indiana, I think he had a good game. I don't really like that grade. I thought he was the only offensive lineman that they really ran the ball behind. But this Ohio State game was really where I'm like, oh, this dude's a real top 10 pick. Amazing mauler, really good at pass blocking as well. Going to get some of the best pass rushers in the nation, and still showed why he's better than them. So I'm going to take him at number 6. The Browns get their right tackle of the future, and Francis Mauigoa, a 6'6", 315, 20-year-old tackle, gets to a scheme where, listen, Todd Monken loves to run the ball. He needs his right tackle. He needs his left tackle. I think he saw his right tackle in the first round with Francis Mauigoa. Then at number 7, the Washington Commanders. They have a lot of needs. But I do think their biggest need right now is their defense. So I'm going to grab Mansour Delane to be their cornerback 1 for the future. For their defense overall, I'm not a big fan of Marshawn Lattimore. I think since he tore his ACL, even before he tore his ACL, he was really on the decline of his career. Tears his ACL. I do think they're going to move on from him this offseason. But I want to grab Mansour Delane, 6 foot, 190, 22 years old. This dude's a true outside boundary threat. Only allowed a 40% completion percentage. This dude's legit. If you watch him play, the way he can shade receivers, basically negate an entire half of the football field every time he's on the field, I think he's going to be a dominant dude. And I think the Washington Commanders needing a secondary guy to really dominate half the field, it's going to be Mansour Delane. So Mansour Delane going at number 7 to the Washington Commanders to be their cornerback 1 for the future. Pair up with Mikey Samerstill, who was a draft pick last year. Just, kind of pair him up. I think they'll be really good together. Then number 8, the New Orleans Saints. I do think they're going to add another weapon. I think this offense needs more weapons. So I am going to go and grab Carnell Tate from Ohio State. The reason I think Carnell Tate makes a lot of sense, you have Chris Olave. I think Carnell Tate, I don't think he's a true wide receiver 1. I think he projects more as that wide receiver 2 role. Carnell Tate, obviously playing opposite Jeremiah Smith this last year is why, in my opinion, he had such a dominant year. But he's still a really good wide receiver. 6'3", 195, only 21 years old. He's a true mold of a good wide receiver in the NFL. My thing is, I just don't know if he could be a true wide receiver 1 in the NFL. You have Chris Olave, who has he just had over 1,000 yards this last year. With Tyrus Shuck, really showed that it was more Derek Carr throwing hospital balls than it was, Chris Olave playing bad. So I think get him a running mate, get him Carnell Tate. I do think it makes a lot of sense. Get a wide receiver 2 mold, big body as well, wide receiver 2 next to Chris Olave's, I think 6-foot frame. But Carnell Tate has the muscle on him. I think he's a good route runner, good hands, and I think that makes a lot of sense for the Saints. Get Tyler Shuck another weapon, and again, double dip in the Ohio State pool. We know Mickey Loomis. Right, Mickey Loomis? Yeah, Mickey Loomis. We know Mickey Loomis loves Ohio State. You know, if you look at his draft history, almost all of his big-time players came from Ohio State. So I think he's a dip another time in that Ohio State pool and grab Carnell Tate. Then at number 9, the Kansas City Chiefs. The reason I'm going to do this draft pick is because their offseason moves they did. I'm going to grab Jeremiah Love going to the Kansas City Chiefs. The reason I have Jeremiah Love going there is they re-signed Eric Bieniemy to be the offensive coordinator. They let Matt Nagy walk. Eric Bieniemy had over, I think he had nearly 1,000-yard rushers every year he was the offensive coordinator. Now, he's obviously not calling plays. That's Andy Reid's job. He's not calling plays, but he helped set up the play sheet. He helped set up what the offense is going to do well. And when Eric Bieniemy was there, Isaiah Pacheco played amazing. Jerick McKinnon played amazing. There were big focal points on those Super Bowl runs. So I'm going to go grab Jeremiah Love, let him be the premier running back for this team, because Patrick Mahomes tore his ACL because he had no run game. That he had to carry a lot more of the offensive load. He was running the ball more, trying to make more plays with his feet. If you can get Jeremiah Love, the most dominant running back this last year in football, to be your running back, that alleviates so much pressure off of Mahomes' back, and you have a great offensive line. I think it's a great pairing, and I think they will lean more into the run game post-ACL tear, because they got to make sure that Mahomes can stay healthy for the next 10 years. Then at number 10, the Cincinnati Bengals. I'm going to grab Ruben Bain Jr. They get the guy that I think a lot of teams would want. He's 21 years old, 6'3", 270, coming off a 12-sack season. I would have Ruben Bain going a little higher. You know, I thought maybe the Saints would grab him. I thought maybe not the Browns, the Giants might grab him, or the Titans might grab him. But in my opinion, I think the situation, I think, is a little bit better, right? The Giants, they get Sonny Styles to run their defense. They already have a lot of edge rushers. The Titans, they grab Caleb Downs to be that dominant secondary guy because they already have Jeffrey Simmons. The Commanders, you know, I do think edge rusher makes a lot of sense for them, but Mansour Delane, getting that lockdown number 1 corner, I think is a building block you can build on. The Chiefs, I thought maybe, but I think they want to invest in the guys they've already drafted. So the Bengals, they get Ruben Bain. They feel amazing. They get their guy opposite of Shamar Stewart next to Myles Murphy. And now they don't feel so bad losing Trey Hendrickson, because you have a dude who, again, in the same exact run I had about Francis Malgoa, I had the exact same opinion about Ruben Bain. His best play came at the tail end of the career of the season. Yes, as you can see, PFF ranked it really high. But I think at that Pitt game and on, he was amazing. This dude was behind the backfield, was in the backfield every single snap. This dude was constantly getting pressures, constantly stopping the run, constantly getting sacks and forced fumbles. I'm a big fan of Ruben Bain. Him in Cincinnati makes a lot of sense. I do think he could go higher, but you gotta remember, normal thought doesn't always work in the NFL, right? Like, I would have never thought the Jacksonville Jaguars would trade 2 first-round picks for Travis Hunter. Never thought it was gonna happen. So I think there's a chance that Ruben Bain does slip just because other positional value, right? Just because other positional value, other guys get taken before him, and I think 10's the lowest he goes. I don't think he makes it past the Bengals. I think they need to invest in their defensive line, and I think they know that as well. So they're going to grab the best defensive lineman, whether it's him, Peter Woods, Cassius Howell, Caleb Banks, whoever they have ranked higher, even if it's Caden McDonald from Ohio State. They're going to go and grab someone on the defensive line at number 10. So the fact that Ruben Bain slips to 10, they are ecstatic about, because this dude was a dominant force at Miami last year. Then number 11, the Miami Dolphins. So Miami Dolphins, they cut a lot of players in the last week. I think they need to reinvent this defense. You have Chop Robinson, who you drafted. You have Kenneth Grant, who they drafted last year. Obviously, new coaching staff, new GM. Doesn't really matter. But I do think when you hire a defensive head coach and you have Chop Robinson and Kenneth Grant, you're not going to invest in another defensive line pick. I don't see it happening. Then linebacker, CJ Allen from Georgia makes a lot of sense. I don't think he's at number 11. However, who I do have at number 11 is Avion Terrell. Avion Terrell, brother of AJ Terrell, is a really good corner. Now, he did get picked on at Clemson because, again, the team overall at Clemson just was not very good this year. Everyone kind of played worse than they were expecting. But Avion Terrell, he's very athletic. He can kind of run routes better than a lot of wide receivers. 5'11", 180, 21 years old, still very young. And this secondary room for the Dolphins, it's pitiful. It's straight awful, bad, pitiful. The only guy worth a darn is Minka Fitzpatrick, and even then, he's at 30, 31 years old. This secondary is downright bad. I think they need to reinvent the secondary, grab Avion Terrell, the best available corner right now. I do think Jamon McCoy, if he was healthy, if he would have played this year, he would have been probably higher than Avion Terrell and Mansour Delane, but because of the injury, I'm going to knock him down a few pegs. So Jamon McCoy could make sense for them, but I think the Miami Dolphins need someone immediately that they can build upon. Avion Terrell can add a little bit more muscle, be a better run defender, but I think he's really good at shading receivers, so I'm going to grab him at number 11. And at number 12, the Dallas Cowboys are going to grab Cassius Howell from Texas A&M. Last year at A&M, 6'2", 250, he had 12 sacks. 2 years ago, had 10 sacks. Really good pass rusher. And the one thing that the Cowboys really missed last year, not only was it secondary, but was also edge rusher production. And that was a big issue. I think they need to get that solved. And again, you have another first round pick. You have a lot of time in the offseason to sign guys as well. But for me, let's solve the edge rusher position. You have Donovan Ezeraku. You're going to lose Sam Williams in free agency. You obviously have Quinnen Williams and Kenny Clark at D tackle. Grab Cassius Howell. Make this defensive line as dominant as you can. So then, as you're adding more guys later in the draft and in free agency to the secondary, your defensive line is so dominant that it makes the time speed up for the offense to where they're throwing the ball quicker to your secondary, and they can kind of get a better leverage on those plays. So I'm going to go Cassius Howell to be the edge rusher for the future in Dallas. Then at number 13, the LA Rams. I'm going to grab Jamon McCoy. I think it makes sense. They need an outside corner, and the LA Rams love taking chances on players. You know, whether it was the pickup of Emmanuel Forbes this offseason when he got cut from the Washington Commanders, they picked him up. They love giving guys second chances. I think Jamon McCoy, if he would have stayed healthy, would have been a top 5 pick. So they get him at number 13. Absolute steal. He's 6 foot 193. Won't even be 21 years old at the time of next season. Coming off a torn ACL. This dude's really good. He has an amazing ball skill. He's again, one of the most dominant dudes, amazing run defender. If they can get him at number 13, I think they run that ticket in, and they are like awesome. We have our cornerback one for the future. We might lose to Kobe Durant in free agency. So if we lose to Kobe Durant, we have Jamon McCoy, who we know is a really good player. Awesome. They're feeling really good about that right now. Then at number 14, the Baltimore Ravens, brand new offense, brand new defense. Their defense, for the most part, could get a little bit improved, maybe in the secondary. But for the Baltimore Ravens, I want to bolster their offensive line. I'm going to grab Olavega Ione from Penn State, the offensive guard. He's really good. 6'4", 328, a lot of starting time under his belt. I just don't think Daniel Falele can be there next year. I believe he's a free agent, so it doesn't really matter. He's going to be gone anyway. But they need to bolster their offensive line, get Lamar Jackson healthy, and keep him healthy. That needs to be the big thing. And Declan Doyle comes from Chicago, comes from Denver. And what do those two teams have? Really good offensive lines. Really good interiors. We just watched Joe Tooney win Protector of the Year in its inaugural season. And I just don't think Declan Doyle is going to let this season go by without investing heavy money in draft capital into the offensive line. I think Jesse Minter can understand that, right? I think the defense, you can add some veterans, add some later draft picks, but to get a premier guard for Lamar Jackson has to happen. Amazing run defender, run blocker, really good pass blocker. This doesn't let up a lot of pressures. That's who I think the Ravens need to grab at 14, and it stops other teams in that range from grabbing Ione. Then at number 15, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. There's a lot of guys I could grab here. I think Peter Woods makes sense. Caleb Banks makes sense. Kind of, double down on your strength of your team. But because their linebacker core is so bad, I'm going to grab CJ Allen from Georgia. Again, second best stand-up linebacker behind Sonny Styles. Grab him at 15. Kind of solve a need for the future. You have Levante David, but outside of Levante David, you don't really have anyone on your roster who you really believe in. 6'1", 235, 21 years old at the start of the season. Really good run defender. And again, if you want to re-sign Levante David, you can do that. But I think CJ Allen is a play for the future to really ensure that your linebacker core has hope. Because right now, there's not a lot of hope after Levante David, who's a 36-year-old linebacker. Then at number 16, the New York Jets. I think they're going to double down. Obviously, they grab Arvell Reese to be kind of that linebacker edge hybrid. But I think they're going to double down. They're going to grab Peter Woods to replace Quinnen Williams at D tackle. Peter Woods, 6'3", 310, very young player. On top of that, if you actually look at, let me see if I can actually find it real quick. Peter Woods lost a lot of weight in the last year. And a lot of people think that might have affected his playing, obviously, because the year before, he was an amazing run stopper, but he couldn't stay healthy. And now he lost all that weight. I believe they said he was at 365 at the beginning of 2024. And at the beginning of 2025, he was at 6'3", 310. He's a very good run stopper, really good pass blocker. And I think if the Jets can grab a Peter Woods to kind of build that D tackle room around for the next couple of years, that'd be really good for them. Really good player, replace Quentin Williams on a cheap rookie contract and kind of reset that room. So now the Jets with Arvell Reese and Peter Woods really feel confident about their defense for the future. Then number 17, the Detroit Lions. I do think they're going to grab a left tackle. I think Taylor Decker either retires or he gets cut. So other guys that make sense, Spencer Fano, right tackle. Caden Proctor, he weighed in, I believe they said it might have been 410 pounds at the beginning of the 2025 season, and throughout the year lost weight down to 360. Listen, man, I like him. I just don't think he's going to be a good fit for the Lions. They kind of need an athletic, very fast tackle. Caleb Lomu does fit that a little bit to a T, 6'6", 308. But again, I'd rather have someone else. I'm going to go Monroe Freeland from Georgia. Really good. They're saying he might run sub 5. He might run a sub 5 second 40. As you guys might not know, Darnell Wright, the tackle for the Bears, ran a 5.01 40-yard dash, and it broke the internet. So they're saying Monroe Freeland might run even faster than that at 6'7", 315. If that does happen, he's going to the Lions at 17. And he might even go higher than that. Very good, really good left tackle. Knows what he's doing against really good competition. And the Detroit Lions need a left tackle for the future to build around. I think Monroe Freeland, with the way they run the ball, makes so much sense for them. Then at number 18, the Minnesota Vikings. Now they fired Kwesi Odafe-Mensah, so I don't know what they're going to really do because, I don't know who their GM is. I don't have any history of them drafting. So at number 18, I'm going to take a pick that makes a lot of sense. I'm going to grab Kaden McDonald, a D tackle from Ohio State. Their D tackle room, it's pretty thin. So I want to grab someone that has a lot of upside for the future. 6'3", 326, 21 years old. They could also grab a secondary guy. They lost Cam Bynum. They're going to lose Harrison Smith. They still have Josh Metellus, though. At corner, you have Byron Murphy still. But their secondary is very thin, so they could go secondary. But I just don't think anyone really fits what they want to do right now that's in range. So I'm going to grab Kaden McDonald. Let's fix our D tackle room for the future and figure the rest out later. Then number 19, the Carolina Panthers. I'm going to double down in D tackle. I'm going to grab Caleb Banks, D tackle from Florida. Caleb Banks, really good run stopper. Did have injuries issue this year that kind of knocked him out of the year. But if he would have been healthy, I do believe Caleb Banks would have been more of a top 15 pick. But he's going to be 23 years old as a rookie, very old rookie. But thankfully, the Carolina Panthers don't think they really care about age right now. They're trying to win the NFC South every single year because it's a winnable division. So Caleb Banks can step in, pair right next really well to Derek Brown, and now you have two very good athletic D tackles that I think can completely change the run that this defense can take next year. Then at number 20, the Dallas Cowboys. Again, as I said, they grabbed Cassius Howell earlier. They could grab a corner, but I think they're going to lose George Pickens in free agency. So I'm going to grab Mekhi Lemon from USC, who I think plays a lot like George Pickens. Last year, 1,100 yards, 11 touchdowns, 15 yards per catch, averaged out to his entire career. He's 5'11", 195, really good route runner, really good hands. I think George Pickens and Mekhi Lemon have so much in common. So if you're going to lose George Pickens, might as well get basically his replacement for dirt cheap for the next 5 years. And again, you got to get someone opposite of CeeDee Lamb. He can't do everything himself. So if I'm the Dallas Cowboys, I'm preparing for the future without George Pickens. We'll grab Mekhi Lemon, and this offense is going to continue being dominant like it was last year. Then at number 21, I think that the Pittsburgh Steelers, they need to add another wide receiver. I do think they're going to figure out quarterback elsewhere. I don't think it's going to be Ty Simpson. So I'm going to go with Jordan Tyson. Now, I understand all the worries about Jordan Tyson. As someone who actually really liked Jordan Tyson earlier in the season, like week 1, week 2, I thought he'd be the first wide receiver taken. Injuries scare me. Tore his ACL, took a while to recover in 2024 from that torn ACL, still had a good year. Then this year, was it a collarbone or a clavicle injury, limited him for like 4 or 5 games. Injuries are an issue with him. But he's 6'2", 200, dominant boundary X receiver, fits everything that you want in a wide receiver 1, but injuries are the issue. Now you have DK Metcalf So Jordan Tyson doesn't have to play the wide receiver 1 role, but it allows you to kind of move him around. I think he can play a little bit of slot receiver as well. Very big player, plays very physical. So maybe just gets into the NFL weight room, NFL training staff, can get him his body ready for NFL football and kind of stay a little bit healthier once he's in that weight room with the nutritionist. Everything's better in the NFL, so maybe he needs a better nutritionist, strength and conditioning staff, and training staff. Then number 22, I'm going to grab T.J. Parker from Clemson. The Chargers need to bolster this defensive line in general. Obviously, you have Tuli Tuipulotu, who had an amazing edge rusher season this last year. But the D-tackle room, the edge room outside of him, were hit or miss. So I'm going to go T.J. Parker. He's going to play edge and D-tackle, a little bit of a hybrid role. They're saying he might play edge more in the NFL, but I think he can easily, if he adds a little bit of weight onto him, he can play an amazing D-tackle. But he's 6'3", 260 at 21 years old. Really good player. Definitely could be more improved, but I think playing opposite Tuli Tuipulotu in a team where the vibes are really good. I think it's really nice. The vibes that are going on with the LA Chargers this offseason, adding Mike McDaniel, Jim Harbaugh kind of like, hey, even if we lose Jesse Minter, we'll still do our thing. Now, losing both coordinators, you didn't lose both. You fired one coordinator, lost the other. It is going to be a little bit of a culture change because what can Jim Harbaugh do now that he doesn't have Jesse Minter, who fought him from Michigan, who was amazing everywhere he went? What's the next guy going to do? But I'm going to go T.J. Parker. I'm going to try and solidify that edge room and figure out what we're going to do for the future. Then at number 23, the Philadelphia Eagles. I think they have to do it. I'm going to grab Spencer Fano, the tackle from Utah, the right tackle from Utah. Lane Johnson is just getting older and older. There was questions he might retire this offseason. He is not retiring. He is returning for his, I believe, his 12th or 13th, maybe 14th season. The first without Jeff Stoutland. So Spencer Fano, we're going to take him. He's going to sit behind Lane Johnson for a year, just like we did with Landon Dickerson, just like we did with Cam Jurgens with Jason Kelsey. We're going to draft a year early, so once Lane Johnson is ready to retire, Spencer Fano had a full year behind Lane Johnson, getting NFL ready, so next year he can be ready at right tackle, and we can just keep going with what we're doing. He's 6'6", 308, only 21 years old, very young, really good right tackle, and I can grab him at number 23, absolute steal for the Philadelphia Eagles. Then number 24, the Cleveland Browns. So Cleveland, earlier, they grabbed Francis Mauigoa, amazing right tackle. They feel very good about that. And now, left tackle could be taken here. There's still a lot of really good left tackles. Caden Proctor, again, I still think he's a scheme fit for what the Todd Monken offense is going to be. Caleb Lomu, he's not a bad left tackle. Also be a really cool story if Spencer Fano and Caleb Lomu went back-to-back picks. That'd be pretty cool. But I'm not going to go tackle. I'm going to go Denzel Boston. The Browns need to add another wide receiver, and I think they're going to add a wide receiver in free agency anyway. You have Jerry Jeudy, you have Cedric Tillman, you have Isaiah Bonds. I think they're going to add a free agent, whether that's Romeo Dobbs, one of those type of receivers where they're good, like 12 to 15 million a year, possession receiver. I think Denzel Boston can be a true outside number one receiver if the situation is right. He's 6'4", 209, dominant player, great deep threat, really good hands. I love Denzel Boston. If he can be in a Cleveland Browns jersey, that'd be amazing. And I think it makes sense what they want to do, because not only do they want to run the ball really well, they want to be able to make big plays off the run game. And I think Denzel Boston, Jerry Jeudy, and whatever wide receiver they sign, with the rotation of Isaiah Bond, the deep threat, Cedric Tillman, the good possession receiver, that's 5 dudes I really believe in. And the Browns get Denzel Boston and Francis Mauigoa. That's a home run of a first round, especially considering how weak this class is. Then at number 25, the Chicago Bears. I'm going to do it. I'm going to go with Akeem Mesidor for the Chicago Bears. Now, the reason I waited so long to draft Akeem Mesidor, and I might even wait a little longer to draft him, he's 25 years old as a rookie. He's a 25-year-old rookie. But he's a 25-year-old rookie who played really well. 6'3", 280, had 6 years in football. Obviously, that's a lot of time to be playing college football. No doubt he dominated, in 6 years in football. But listen, the Chicago Bears are trying to win a Super Bowl right now. There are certain players that in certain teams that they don't care about age. Can you perform? Akeem Mesidor in Chicago is a starter. Straight up. He's a starter. Let's get someone who did perform last year, was really good last year as well. Made it all, again, just like Ruben Bain. I think his best part of his season was the second half of the season. really good in the playoffs, was dominant in the national championship. I want to grab Akeem Mesidor, let him be our edge rusher #1, and now you feel comfortable, right? You know, week 1 you have a starter who can get to the quarterback, who can strip quarterbacks as well. You feel very good about that coming out of this NFL draft out of week 1. Out of day 1, that you got someone that you know can play week 1. No development needed. He's 25 years old. Throw him out there. You're good to go. Then at number 26, the Buffalo Bills. You know, they grabbed Max Harrison last year. I do think they double dip at corner. I'm going to go Keith Abney. You know, Max Harrison, it's taking a little bit longer to develop than they wanted. Obviously, Keon Coleman as well 2 years ago hasn't really worked out. But Keith Abney is a dominant corner. 6 foot, 190, only 21 years old. Very young, 21 as well. Last year, 2 interceptions. The year before, 3. This is a turnover monster. He can also run defend like crazy. He will stunt your receiver's ass into that ground. He's really good at corner. Keith Abney, Chris Johnson, and where is he? Was it Andre Fuller? Those are my 3 guys I think could be really good. Josh Moten as well from Southern Miss is really good. But Keith Abney is one of my guys I truly believe in that can be a first-round pick and be dominant in the NFL. So the Buffalo Bills, you know, they have Trey White starting. That's crazy. In 2026, having Trey White starting. So let's just add another guy in the secondary in Keith Abney. Then number 27, I'm going to grab the San Francisco 49ers, their left tackle of the future, and Caleb Lomu. Yes, Trent Williams is 40 years old, basically. You just can't rely on him for the future. You signed Colton McKivitz to a long-term deal. We're going to grab Caleb Lomu, be the backup left tackle this year, and maybe next year will be the starter. But at worst, you have your future plan at left tackle. I think it makes a lot of sense for them. I think him in a West Coast offense really fits what Utah did last year. It makes a lot of sense. They have their left tackle of the future, and now you feel really confident that, like, awesome. When Trent Williams is ready to go, we have Caleb Lomu. We'll keep it pushing now. Then at number 28, the Houston Texans, I think, are going to grab a D tackle in Lee Hunter. Other D tackles that were available that I really liked as well. Christian Miller, I think, could be a first-round pick. I think Christian Miller could be a first-round pick. Dante Corleone is going to be a very high second-round pick. Dominique Orange is really good from Iowa State. Darrell Jackson, Skylar Gill Howard, Tim Keenan. This D tackle class is loaded. Caleb Proctor, I'm really high on as a day 2 pick. There's so many good D tackles, but I do think Lee Hunter is going to be one of those guys that gets drafted in the first round. And the Houston Texans, they need D tackles for the future. All their guys are 30, 31, 32 years old in that D tackle room. Let's grab Lee Hunter, but guarantee that we have someone for the future with Will Anderson. Then at number 29, the LA Rams, you know, they already drafted Jermon McCoy. I think they're going to double dip in the secondary, but it's going to be at safety this time. So Emmanuel McNeil Warren, Dylan Thunderman, AJ Halsey, all 3 of these guys could be first-round picks. On top of that, I think Zakee Wheatley, Genesis Smith, those are second-round picks. Kamari Ramsey's good. I think he's going to slip a little bit, though. I do think he's going to slip, be more of that nickel corner role. Bud Clark could be everything. And Michael Taffe, another really deep class safety. But when it comes to true bona fide starters, it's Emmanuel McNeil Warren. I think at strong safety, he's going to be replace Cam Curl. 6'2", 202, has a lot of starting experience in his career. Can play box, can play deep. This is the dude I want. I think he'd be really good. I do like Dylan Thunderman as well, but this is what the LA Rams need. You already signed Quentin Lake to a long-term extension, so you're trying to pair someone next to Quentin Lake's amazing run defense. Emmanuel McNeil Warren can be a really good run defender and an even better coverage guy coming out of Toledo. And now Toledo, that's 2 first-round secondary guys in the last 3 years. First was Quinion Mitchell 2 years ago. Now it's Emmanuel McNeil Warren. They're starting a little bit of a trend. Good for Toledo. Then at number 30, the Denver Broncos. It's going to be super easy. I'm grabbing Kenyon Sadiq. Wide receiver was definitely thought about. Chris Bell tore his ACL. Don't think he's going to be a first-round pick because of that. I am not a guy who believes in Casey Concepcion. I'm just not someone who believes in him. Sorry, it's whatever. More of a second-round prospect. Omar Cooper, I think, could sneak into the first, but I think he'll end up being one of the first 5 or 6 picks in the second round. Elijah Surratt, also a big fan of Elijah Surratt. Same thing. I think he's more of a second-round prospect. Zachariah Branch, I'm a big fan of as well. More of a third-round prospect in my eyes. Skylar Bell, I think, will perform like a first-round pick in his career, but I think he's going to be more of a third-round pick guy. I like Malachi Fields, good slot. Chris Brazzell, however you want to pronounce it, good outside threat. The thing is, I'm scarred from Tennessee wide receivers. I'm not doing it. They're not being first round picks in my mind. So a lot of good wide receivers for the Denver Broncos like to try and grab because they need another wide receiver. But Kenyon Sadiq fits a void immediately. You know, you tried filling it with Evan Ingram. It didn't work out. Grab so could be an amazing pass blocker and also an amazing receiving threat out of the pass game and protect Bo Nix as both a security threat and a run blocker. It's Kenyon Sadiq at number 30. Then number 31, the New England Patriots. They have a lot of needs. You know, their run to the Super Bowl was more in spite of their lack of talent than because of their talent. So I think they need another edge rusher. They're going to lose Clavon Chasen to free agency. They just don't really have anyone for the future they really believe in. I'm going to grab R. Mason Thomas. Now, is R. Mason Thomas the best edge rusher in the world? No. But he is better than Kendrick Falk, who is more of a run stopper. And I just don't think there's any team right now that's looking for a run stopping edge. Gabe Jockus is okay. 6'3", 270, solid pass rusher. But I think I just don't know if he's an NFL guy in the first round. Romello Height, I do still see as a first round prospect. But I'm the rest of the NFL world is telling me he's not a first round prospect. So I'm going to believe him. Derek Moore is a second round guy. Joshua Josephs is a second round guy. Production does not match how good he plays. Danny Dennis Sutton, I really believe in, but he's definitely more of a day 2 guy. Mikhail Kamara, again, another guy I think is going to go higher than people expect. But I'm going to go with R. Mason Thomas. Has a high motor, consistently shows up, just someone that's really good. You know, nothing crazy about him. I think he's going to fit that New England mantra of team over me. So I'm going to go with R. Mason Thomas. And finally, the Seattle Seahawks at number 32. Now, before we pick who I'm going to pick, let's go over all the talent that's still available. Kendrick Falk, Caden Proctor, Casey Concepcion, Christian Miller, Brandon Sissy, Ty Simpson, Chris Bell, Dylan Thieneman, Anthony Hill, Omar Cooper, Gabe Jockus, AJ Halsey, Emmanuel Pregnon, Eli Stowers, Zion Young, Ian Hakor, Max from tackle from Arizona State, Colton Hood, LT Overton, Keontae Scott. And so many good players are still available. So, for the Seahawks, you're sitting at 32. I do think a trade is possible, right? Let's just say the Cardinals. They want to grab the 5th-year option on Ty Simpson. Because I do think that would be the only trade down option. Is someone wants Ty Simpson, they want him at number 32, they want that 5th-year option on him. I do think that's possible. However, I'm going to go with the Seattle Seahawks. They're going to grab their guy in Dylan Thieneman. So, the reason I think Dylan Thieneman makes the most sense for them, they're losing a lot of their secondary guys to free agency. Josh Jobe is one of them. Not Julian Love. Who's their free safety? Kobe Bryant. Kobe Bryant is a free agent. Tariq Woolen is a free agent. Their secondary is going to have a lot of turnover. And I do think a Dylan Thieneman and Devin Witherspoon corner safety duo is insane. Athletic, great thumpers. Both of them play amazingly. So I think that'll be an amazing duo. And I'm going to pair them up next to each other. So the Seattle Seahawks got Dylan Thieneman to add to their safety room. And just an absolute dominance of the Legion of Boom 2.0 you could be building right now. So that is my NFL mock draft pre-NFL Combine. Honestly, a lot of guys still left over that probably would not actually get left over in the class. But this is a really good class in my opinion. No trades happen. I do think at number 32 a trade could happen if Ty Simpson's still available. But for me, only one quarterback was taken. That's 1, 2, 3, 4 tackles taken. Lots of safeties as well. Dylan Thieneman, Emmanuel McNeil-Warren, they get drafted. Caleb Downs, 3 safeties in the first round. Might be a record in the last 10 years. 1 running back at number 9. Wide receiver, no big wide receiver shocks. Denzel Boston, Jordan Tyson, Mekhi Lemon, and Carnell Tate. That's what everyone really thinks is going to happen. Avion Terrell, number 11. Cassius Howell, number 12. Jamal McCoy gets drafted before Keith Abney. Good class, man. It's not. I don't think this class is a top-end blue chip Hall of Fame class, but I think this could be the draft class where you fill out your needs, and next year, once the more bona fide Hall of Fame level talent comes out, these guys are the ones filling out your roster, so when that player comes into your team, you're ready to click on all cylinders. So, if you guys enjoy, please like, comment, subscribe. Let me know in the comments down below what you think of your team's draft pick. If your team didn't draft, who do you think they should draft? Do you think another quarterback's going to go? Ty Simpson, I do have as a first-round talent. The issue is he should have went back to school and next year been a first-round talent. But this year, if it's true he was dealing with a back injury, can't really blame him for the issues that he dealt with. But for me, I left him out of the first round. So you guys enjoy. Please like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys later. Peace and bye.